because the control theory people try to find some tools for a practicing control engineer so that he can very quickly apply these tools to check it out without too much worrying about the fundamentals of that, how it came and all that. So, one of the tests they have given called the Raut-Hurwitz test, which is basically coming out the fundamental result of the Hurwitz polynomial test. Control theory people use another very important useful test. Let us say your now when does the problem occur? S is equal to j omega is what we are bothered about, sinusoidal variation. So, under sinusoidal steady state phasor conditions, then this feedback connection should not make this whole network unstable. What does that mean? When does it become unstable? When this becomes 0, right? Then the gain becomes infinity. Gain becoming infinity means you require no input to have an output, which means the output is coming directly from the network itself, which means the network is oscillating at some frequency omega, where this becomes equal to 0. So, is there any omega, real omega, at which this becomes equal to 0? If there is a omega, then this network with feedback will oscillate at that frequency. If it does not have any such omega, then the network is stable, right? So, what we do is we basically try to find out 1 plus Lj omega, is it 0 at any omega? If it is so, then this feedback connection will make the whole original network stable into oscillator. This is not a pain in the neck always, because we need oscillators. So, to design oscillators we use exactly the same idea, but when you are designing amplifiers you do not want an oscillator. So, when you are designing amplifiers you would not like this to happen. So, now this has two conditions. Condition 1 is Lj omega magnitude must be equal to 1 at that frequency. The second condition is angle of Lj omega must be equal to 180 degrees. And what is Lj omega? Aj omega into beta j omega. And this, because As into Bs, so this is something like right. Agree? So there will be some j omega plus something, j omega plus something else, j omega plus something else, similarly in the denominator. In the last class we studied representing such functions in terms of the Bode plot, right. So, for each one of this space we have a Bode plot correspond to 1 0 and 1 pole. For this we have another Bode plot of same Bode plot with different values of 0 and pole and so on and so forth. So, assuming all these poles and zeros are on the negative real axis, as for simplification, I can quickly plot dB versus log omega. This first term will be what? there will be some constant, then this will come down and go up somewhere. I don't know how the poles and zeros are distributed. The 0 is first and pole is next. This is how it looks like, right? 0 first and pole next. For the other term, what happens? Depending on what is the location of 0 and pole here, similar thing will happen. So, since this is a dB scale, you can just add them up and plot the overall transfer function magnitude as a function of log omega in terms of dBs. Just by quickly looking at it, you can draw, you don't have to do any calculations. And the slope at every point here will be 6 dB per octave or 20 dB per decade. So, you can immediately plot what is the transfer function magnitude in dBs. Our condition is transfer function magnitude should never be equal to 1, or if it happens to be 1, then at that point I should not have angle equal to 180. Okay. So, first let me check where this is happening. So, what does 1 here means? When you take logarithm of this, 1 becomes equal to 0 dB. So, see what are the frequencies at which this function goes to 0. It is not necessarily only one frequency, it could be many frequencies, right. This is the dangerous point, because the magnitude of this now at least is 1. Now, I plot similarly here angle, same scale, and angle will be some curve varying like this. At this frequency, if this happens to be 180 degrees, then this is going to oscillate at that frequency. Okay. If it is not 180 degrees, you are in happy situation, and that this will not oscillate because the angle is not met. Now, this may be 100, not 180, but let us say it is 130. That means you have a leeway for 50 degrees, right? And this 50 degrees change is allowed by variation of this gain of this open loop amplifier. So, we call this as a phase margin. People suggest that you should design your feedback amplifier for a phase margin of about 40 degrees or some number like that. So, that means you must make sure that it should not oscillate at any omega, where both one magnitude is equal to 1, angle is 180. If there are frequencies at which the magnitude is equal to 1, make sure there is at least a margin of about 30 degrees in the angle, or some number whatever is specified. This is called the phase margin. Similarly, go the other way around. There may be a point at which this angle is 180, is meeting the second condition, and at this point the magnitude may not be equal to 1 hopefully. If it also happens to be 1 here also, then it will oscillate at this frequency also. But if it does not have 1, there is a margin here in the gain. How much is that margin is what is known as the gain margin. One is a phase margin when the magnitude is 1, but the phase is having a allowable range of some angle. This allowable range is because of the variation of this open loop gain of the amplifier, because this amplifier is not a stable amplifier. Stable not in that sense, but it varies, gain varies with respect to temperature variations. The second possibility is that the angle has reached 180 degrees at some frequency, but the gain fortunately has not reached 1, but it may be 1.5. So, you have margin of about 0.5 variation in the gain. So, that margin is what is known as the gain margin.